Welcome back, Savages.
Hi, guys.
Tonight we're going to talk about the investigation we did
At my house. So we've been in our house for about 3 years. As some of you may know, if you're new here, I am sensitive when it comes to the paranormal. Always have been. I occasionally see things, but mine is more of I can feel presence when it's around me. And I call it my heebie-jeebie vibe because I get like a cold chill almost. And when we bought the house, I knew there was something in the house. I had gotten the feeling for a brief second, and I kind of brushed it off. And then when I was in the house by myself painting so we could move in because we were on a deadline, I could feel that there was somebody standing by the basement door, like, staring at me. And all I said was, you know, we can coexist, but don't do anything dumb. Mm-hmm. And I didn't have any issues.
for a while.
Right. So I got this picture in my head of this old guy who's in a t-shirt and overalls, who sits down in the corner of my basement smoking a cigarette. And eventually, occasionally, and even my husband has admitted, you can smell it. And he doesn't smoke, hasn't smoked in quite a few years. And I don't smoke because asthmatic, I would die. So you'll catch a whiff of it through the house every now and then. I just kind of make the joke like, oh, he's wandered out of the basement. So the first incident that we had, I want to say about maybe 6 months to a year after we moved in, I was home from work and I heard a cough, like a smoker's cough. And I didn't put two and two together at the time. I was in our bedroom. I heard it outside of our bedroom door. And the way that it works is if you walk through our kitchen, there's a hallway that connects the spare room, the bathroom, and our bedroom is like right there, like their kitty corner. So I called my husband and I was like, hey, did you come home early? And he was like, no. I said, okay. I heard the cough. Like there was nothing about it. Mm-hmm. I was a paranormal investigator. I am a paranormal investigator. And you would have thought that my dumb ass would have been like, oh, hey. No. My whole, went out the window. Because I was like, what the hell?
Well, because it's your house, it's your space, and they're not supposed to do that.
Right. So I'm, looking out the windows thinking, okay, it's either that there's got to be there. I mean, the way that it works is we have our backyard and all the other neighbors' backyards kind of butt up to ours, but we have a fence. I didn't see anybody outside. And I'm like, okay. It's like, oh, here we go. This is the fun part for me. So I grabbed my, I don't know what to call it without getting banned. But we have a few of them. And I walked out to the living room. And I have a chair. I put the chair just in the middle of my house because I was thinking if somebody's in my house, I'm going to see which direction they're coming from. And I sat there for a good hour and realized that
there's nobody here.
There's nobody here. And I'm just being way over paranoid. So finally I was just like, hey, if you're going to be here, it's fine. We can coexist. I'm not going to make you leave. And that's always been my thing, is if you're going to be here, we can coexist. Mm-hmm. There are rules. You don't torment us, and don't torment my animals. Don't torment my kids. Whether they're my kids, my friends' kids, kids in general at my house, you leave them the hell alone.
Right.
So, that's how it's been for the last 3 years. I get coughs every now and then, smokers smell every now and then. There was at one point where I felt like somebody was watching me in the shower, and I was like, no. I'm like, this is a safe zone. You don't come in here, and I haven't felt it since. So
Then there was the time that your table got flipped, and we
Yeah,
we were supposed to come investigate after that, and then your whole basement filled up with smoke from the...
so that was right after we had moved in. We had been in the house maybe 3 months, because it was right after Halloween. I have this very large oak, I'm pretty sure, table. I mean, that took the tabletop, and the legs itself separated even took 2 to 3 people to carry in. Even the cats jumping on it is not going to cause it to tip. And the fact that not only I heard it, but my husband heard it too, I was like, what the hell?
Yeah.
And when we walked downstairs, it was on its side. And I knew there was no way in hell that the cats could have caused it to tip.
No.
Because even pushing on it, it's not going anywhere. And that's kind of when I was like, all right, somebody's in our house. I think he doesn't like it. And that's kind of when I got the picture in my head of, like, the guy that was there.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah, we started having an issue with our pellet stove being weird. And I was like, okay. Like, this is great. And again, I'm a paranormal investigator. You would think that my instincts would kick in, but it's just like, you know, being a vet tech mom.
Yeah.
Everything just goes out the window, and you instantly like, okay, what the hell's going on?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's been that way for some time. I mean, we were watching a movie one night, and stuff just fell off the shelf that's been up for a while. And even, you know, my husband saw it and was like, the hell was that? And I walked into the kitchen and was like, listen, this is where the shelf is now. Leave it alone. This is where it's going to stay.
Mm-hmm.
Put everything back on the shelf. And gradually things will fall off. I think things that he doesn't want there. But I put it right back, and that's where it stays.
Yeah.
But then the other stuff started.
Yeah.
So, sometime last year, or at the beginning of this year, around Christmas time, that time, I was laying in bed, and I had the dogs with me, and I know what the dogs sound like.
Yeah.
My cats don't sleep in the room with me, and I heard a growl from underneath my bed. And I mean, it was to the fact that I sat up and the dogs sat up, and the dogs were like on high alert. And I was like, okay, like, that doesn't happen in my house, because that's a rule.
Yeah.
And I mean, at that point, we had been on numerous investigations. We had done numerous things, but the rule always is, anytime we leave an investigation, we do our mantra. I cleanse everything. And there was one point where I had come home from one of I think we were doing a podcast that night. As I was getting out of my car, there's an empty field across from my house, and I instantly got hit with this vision of just this tall, black shadow, red eyes, just staring at me. And it had never gone away. Now, I never, like, invited anything in. I've never been that type of person. Mm-hmm. Now, there was some things that I was practicing in my house, which I shouldn't have been doing by myself, but I was allowing communication. And I don't know if that's what stirred everything up, and now everything's finally coming to a head, or if it's all the baby stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Because of all of the trauma that I've been through, I don't know if now it's all of a sudden coming out or whatnot.
I would guess part of it was the opening communication allowed that thing to cross the threshold.
Even with my protection and whatnot, and I knew better, but I was like, oh, I really want to try this, and shouldn't have. But even then, like, I really didn't have anything going on until really all of the baby stuff started.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the growl had happened, and that, I think, scared me the most because I was like, all right, I know it's not the cats. The dogs are next to me. They're on high alert. Like, is it going to happen again?
Right.
And then I, my husband is a very big, he doesn't believe in a lot of those things.
Yeah.
Like, if things happen, he just kind of brushes it off. I mean, he's okay with me doing investigations. He knows it makes me happy. He knows that I'm a weirdo. Yeah.
Yeah.
But when he told me he heard it weeks prior, I was like, why didn't you tell me that? And he was like, well, I just brushed it off. So I don't know how long it had actually been going on for. And then the vase.
Yeah. That one still is mind-boggling.
I mean, because you saw how everything was downstairs.
Yeah.
So we've recently been doing some rearranging. I ripped out the carpet in my living room or my hallway because my ADHD kicked in. And in my basement is a box of glass. It's different little drink glasses. I think they were my grandmother's, my mom's, one of the two. And we were watching a movie. We were sitting there talking. He was on his computer. And all of a sudden we heard glass just shatter. And at first we thought somebody was breaking into the house.
Right.
I mean, that was my first thought, was somebody's trying to get into the basement. Somebody's trying to get into the garage. Because the way that our house is set up, you come through the basement of the garage, you're coming right into our house. Mm-hmm. And my panic mode kicked in of, who the hell is in my house?
Right.
And, you know, we're running all over the place. Nothing. And then I go downstairs. And in one section, by the window, was one broken vase. Just one.
That had come right up out of the box.
It was in this box. I called my sister to verify. I remember moving it. I double checked everything. That is the only thing from that box that was broken. And it didn't shatter everywhere. I mean, I left it out so you could see it.
Yeah.
It was broken in just a few pieces.
It was like the bottom had come completely
It
undone.
looked like it exploded from like the inside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
like
crazy.
What happens when glass it's hot and then it meets cold, or how vice versa or whatever.
Yeah.
It looks like it had exploded from the inside.
Yeah.
I mean, because I didn't touch anything. I did finally clean it up though. But you could clearly see.
Yeah.
It was broken, but it wasn't everywhere.
It's not like it fell and shattered or was dropped.
No,
and
because
shattered.
even the top of it was standing up.
Yeah.
It wasn't laying down. It was standing up. And that's
weird.
when I was like, okay, like this isn't okay anymore. Because on one hand, I've got the old guy in my basement who I have not had a problem with in 3 years. And then I've got the other thing that lives across the street from me who I don't want in my house, but if he's going to be in my house, he's going to follow the rules too. And that's when I was like, all right, we're not playing games anymore.
Yeah.
And I went down with my Palo Santo and I was like, listen, there are rules in my house. No ill intentions, no animals, no kids.
Yeah.
And now you're pushing buttons. And I got the biggest, like, whoosh I have ever gotten in my house that night. Like, that fact that I didn't even want to be down there. And usually I'll go down day or night. I don't have a problem. Mm-hmm. But that night, I don't know what it was about that night.
That was weird.
And that's when I texted you. I was like, hey, I think it's time to come over to my house.
Yeah. I still don't know what the growl would have been unless it was just the guy from across the street. But
right. I mean, because that was a point. That was a really low point for me because we were going through all of that stuff. And there was a lot that was going on and whatnot. And I don't know if I had just finally released it all out into the world. Mm-hmm. And we were doing all the investigations. And if something came home with me that shouldn't have, that is no longer there.
Well, we did have one that we went on when you had your concussion.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah. So you were not at your peak. So something could have potentially
Yeah,
come home with you.
yeah.
And there were some not so nice things there.
I do not recommend doing investigations with a concussion.
Yeah, no.
I couldn't stand up, couldn't sit down, couldn't lay down,
Yeah.
couldn't have headphones. I couldn't, oh my God, I was miserable for weeks.
Yeah.
But I mean, that very well could be that something came home with me that night. But there are rules in my house.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that one of those rules got broken, I was like, all right, it's time. It's time to figure out what the hell's in my house.
Yeah. So I came over, took some, didn't take a whole lot of stuff, just took some little equipment over. And we went and sat in the basement.
Yep.
And I still have to empty the recorder, but
I was right there with you.
I had no cord for my laptop. Now I do. But we had a lot of K2 hits in the very beginning.
Yeah.
Over in the corner where the guy sits.
Yeah. And over in that corner, there's nothing.
Mm-mm.
Like, there's no power or anything because only half the basement is done.
Yeah, there's literally nothing. I went all around with the K2 and there was nothing.
It's concrete, solid,
Yeah.
nothing. I don't even have street lights outside my house.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
No. Sorry. And then the cat got a little weird.
Yeah, the cats, that was weird for them, the fact that they were watching around us instead of watching us.
Yeah. I think we never did go in your little cubby under the stairs.
You can't get back there anyway.
No. But I think there's something in there.
It feels that way. Yeah.
But I couldn't get in there, and the cats were not too thrilled with us being over there, so I didn't try.
No.
But then, once we got over there's somebody watching us from somewhere, we can't figure out where.
You could feel it, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then we pulled out the pendulum and the dowsing rods, and then we got some of the big answers. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So we went through our normal line of questioning, which was the old guy, which I knew.
Yes.
We found the shadow thing, whatever. We got clarification on that. And then this is where we start doing the narrowing down of...
We asked if they were upset over the baby room.
Yes. So my husband and I recently have been redoing our spare bedroom because we got approved for adoption. Being pregnant does not agree with me and almost killed me, quite literally. So we started redoing the spare room to get ready for any time we might get a phone call of, hey, you've been chosen. You're getting a baby today.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, the questions got more and more precise.
So after they said that they were upset over the baby's room, we asked if they were a grown-up. They said no. We asked if you were a child. It said yes. And then it popped into her head who it was.
Yep. So February 16th, 2021, I went in for my 16-week checkup. We had somehow gotten pregnant in November, around Thanksgiving in November 2020. I went in for my 16-week checkup with my husband, and it was his very first appointment, and we learned that our baby no longer had a heartbeat. And that was the worst feeling in the world because I didn't think I could ever get pregnant. And then we found out that I have a blood clotting disorder when I am pregnant and even when I'm not pregnant. My body does not agree with having babies, and it's quite deadly for me. And when we were doing the line of questioning, it all of a sudden popped into my head of my daughter. So when I had my DNC, they confirmed that she was a little girl, and we had always wanted to name our daughter Charlie. I have always referred to her as Charlie. The doctors referred to her as a tissue sample, and I quite corrected them of no.
Mm-hmm.
Her name is Charlie. She's my daughter. That's how it's going to be. And even to this day, when Jeff and I talk about her, her name is Charlie.
Mm-hmm.
And going through our line of questioning, and that's when it hit me, and I said it before you did. And you said, "Are you a child?" And we went through the relatives, and finally it just came to me, and I said, "Are you my kid?" And we got a hit, and I've got chills again.
Yeah.
And we got a hit.
And so then I said, "Are you upset because they're doing the baby's room and you're afraid they're going to forget about you?" And she said yes.
Yep, it was a definitive yes. And all I had a picture of in my head was a little girl who looked just like I did.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay. And I said, well, I'm not going to forget you. And that was about the time that we were talking about her ring that I had ordered. And all of a sudden, like, everything shifted.
Yeah.
Nothing felt heavy anymore.
Mm-mm.
And I haven't had any weird things since. And that's when we started talking about how I kept having this recurring dream, and I still do, of twins.
Mm-hmm.
And I had always made the joke that we're going to end up with two babies. One will be a boy and one will be a girl. And that's just always what I've had in my head.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime I have talked about kids.
Yeah. And of course, at the time, we all thought it was because you were doing the treatments.
Right.
Which multiples tend to happen with those.
Right.
But
Charlie has other ideas.
yeah, so I asked her if Kelsey was going to have twins, and she said yes. Lo and behold, that might be in the works at some point.
Right. The questions kind of went from there as to whether or not, or if Charlie was ready to be born again, and it kind of went that route as far as questioning. And my heart broke a little bit,
Yeah.
but knowing that I still have her is what I was happy about.
Yeah, because she's still there.
Yeah.
Even though she's not where you would like her to be, she's still with you.
Yeah, I always, like, out of nowhere, I'll just, like, get this, like, little image of just a giggling little kid running around.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh, okay, Charlie's here.
Yeah.
And after that line of questioning, everything has lifted.
Yeah.
I still have the old man in the basement. He's never going to go away.
But, I mean, when you look at it in perspective of a little kid, pretty much everything that was going on would be consistent with a temper tantrum.
Right. Yeah. Knocking stuff over, making noises.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, in reality, the growl could have even been that, too.
Right.
Just a scary noise.
Right. Just trying to get the attention. And now, like, with us doing the baby's room and whatnot, I always feel like somebody's just hanging out in the corner, just watching everything that I do.
Mm-hmm.
And I no longer get the feeling that something scary is in my house.
Yeah.
I still have the weird guy across the street, which
Hey, as long as he stays over there,
it's
all
his
good.
property. He do what he
Yeah.
wants.
Yeah.
But I mean, that breaking of the glass I think, was what needed to happen. I think it was set in stone to happen.
Yeah.
That she's finally like, hey, Mom, I'm here.
I
kind of
need your
thing.
attention.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what would be cute that she might like is maybe like make, I know your room isn't super big, but like take one little spot, like one of those shelves that you can put in the corner and stick it up there and make that just her shelf.
Yeah. With all my little knickknacks and whatnot. I thought about even having like a picture made of what Jeff and I would look like together as a kid.
Yeah.
And putting it up there with like her name.
Yeah.
And hopefully her ring will be here shortly. And I think I regret too, like, I never got her ashes because I didn't want, like, we talked about it, that we didn't want them. But then there are days like that I would have liked to have them, but I don't at the same time.
Yeah. That's a hard one.
Yeah. Especially when you have to make that decision.
Yeah.
I don't. Like, thinking about it for all the people who had been through it, and I was like, I don't know what I would do in that decision. And then that day came for me, and I was like, I couldn't make any decisions.
Right. Yeah.
I was ready to go home. I didn't want to hear about it anymore. I didn't want to talk about it anymore. And that really does throw a wrench, like, in your relationship when you guys don't communicate about things like that. Because nobody knows how to feel about those things, and then one day all the energy just goes whoop.
Yep.
And then you have to investigate your own house.
Yeah. But it was good.
Which is one of the rules that we don't like to break, but I knew I couldn't investigate on my own.
Well, we've broke that in all of our houses.
Right,
so.
exactly. Yeah. But we don't do it alone.
No.
And I knew, like, I couldn't do it alone.
No.
Mm-mm.
No, because if it would have been something else, it would have went south real fast.
Oh, yeah. Especially because I can't control, like, especially when I've been jumped and my emotions are just haywire. I can't control anything. I can't move, can't speak. I start crying, and I feel like I would have gotten stuck.
Yeah. That would not have been good, and you may not have been able to come back.
Right.
Yeah.
No.
But stay tuned, and we'll see how this one ends, because it's all good now.
For now.
We'll see what the future holds.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Bye,
Bye,
Savages.
guys.